So, but anytime you mitigate or reduce the risk, you're left with what we call residual risk. That's that risk that's left over. You can never reduce the risk to zero. You want to come as close to it as you can, but we can't get to zero.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. Today on this episode, we have Jeffrey Pledger, who is the CEO and co-founder of Cyber AI Corp, a leading company in the field of AI-driven cybersecurity solutions. With a wealth of experience in integrating AI technologies to enhance customer acquisition and sales systems, Jeff is at the forefront of driving innovation in the cybersecurity industry, and we're super excited to have him on the show for that reason. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Devon. I'm glad to be here.
So to kick things off here, Jeffrey, from your perspective, I'd love to get a quick little Coles Notes version of who you are, where you came from, and how you landed as the co-founder of Cyber AI.
Okay. Well, briefly, let me explain to you that I am blind. Don't see worth anything much as far as that goes. The blindness came in, 1984. So what is that? Almost 40 years ago that it happened. And at that time, medical technology was different than what it is today. I suffered from a very rare form of meningitis known as cryptococcal meningitis and encephalitis. And what that did to me is, again, it took my eyesight, but it also changed me into becoming what I call a change agent. Because I went from being able to see perfectly to not being able to see, and I had to learn to deal with that in my life. Went to school, New York University, made changes there before the ADA was actually put into effect, the Americans with Disabilities Act. Had the same effect when I went to Westchester Community College, and the fact that we changed buildings access and elevator access to be able to accommodate people with disabilities. That was very, very important to me. And going forward, I was hired by then Verizon, which then melded into, it was Bell Atlantic then, and then melded into Verizon. Part of that time I did as my bachelor and master's program at George Washington University in telecom. Well, that was right at the time of the Section 255 of the Telecom Act rewrite. So I was heavily involved with that and had a lot of fun getting involved. Again, becoming a change agent, looking to find ways to accept, understand, or comprehend, and then embrace the change and implement it going outwards. We affected that change within Verizon because it became apparent that people didn't understand how to deal with people with disabilities. For example, bills, right? You get a paper bill in the mail, usually from the phone company, right?
Right.
So that went along, and I looked to some of the managers said, now, how can you have a blind person understand what this paper bill is? And, people were amazed at saying, well, why? You just read the bill. Okay, I pick up the paper, look, it's got nice colors, but to the print that's on it, I can't read it. So we help them understand the need for large print, braille, and electronic media for bill formats. That made a huge difference, and it opened up people's eyes. This is back before, this is just the infancy of the internet. We used to post things on, if you remember right, BBS, bulletin board systems.
Yep. Back in the good old days.
Back in the good old days. Well, we had an announcement that went out for what was called at that time audible caller ID. Now, it's sort of a given now that you have it on phones, your cell phones, whether it's Android or an Apple phone, you can have the announcement of the caller ID come out there. Well, that's really extremely helpful for somebody who's blind. We were just starting this program, and I went to the business manager who said, it's not doing well. Jeff, it's not doing well. It's not getting any penetration. And he said to me, and I asked him, how did you say? Well, we did the bill insert. And again, the problem of blind people don't read bill inserts.
Oh my goodness.
I looked at him and I said, draft something that you can get past the lawyers that we can post out onto bulletin boards. And at that time, I was posting out on quite a few. So I got the notification from the lawyers, posted it out there. And within 10 days, they met their expected targets. And by the end of the trial, they exceeded their target by 800% of penetration. So it's, again, knowing how to communicate and what the information is that you want to communicate that can help people understand the benefits of what you're doing. So from there, I went to having a 26-year career with Verizon. I left them in 2017. I was RIF'd, a reduction in workforce. That's a nice way of looking at people saying, gee, you make too much money. I can hire 2 college kids straight out of college. You've given me all the documentation of your job. Thank you very much for your years of service. Have a great time.
Right.
That's part of corporate America. A part of big corporations, whether it's Canada or America. We see people don't spend, long times in many major organizations anymore. They hop very quickly.
Mm.
So 2016 came along. My wife and I were not happy with what was going on in the United States. We won't go into detail, just say that we were not happy and we left and we came here to Canada. Now, you can see my hair. I don't know if the folks out on the podcast can see my hair, but I have quite a bit of white hair. So I have some age there. Coming up to Canada, I didn't meet the age requirement. Fortunately, to get express entry into the system, there is no limitation on student visas. So my wife and I have since gotten ourselves 2 postgraduate certificates. Hers from George Brown College in Seneca, and mine from both from Seneca. That has helped to give us, 3-year study work permits that are up here. From that point in time, as part of that project, for one of my certificates, I had to put together a business plan to create a business, and that's where Cyber AI was born. It went through the Helix incubator system at Seneca Polytechnic, and from there, we actually developed the whole onset of what we do with ScanBlocks Plus, which is a browser extension that helps to reduce both consumers and businesses' risk to online frauds and scams. The addition to that was in the development of our cyber guide, Cyber Ali, that you have his book of. My wife and I wrote the book last year as part of our marketing program to go to Collision, and we're now monetizing it by getting ready to put it up on Amazon. What the book does is what can't be found online. And here's the reason why we developed it. When you go online, that's great. You have all the things the tools that are out there try to help you, and whether or not you pay attention to those tools, that's the benefit of the online tools. But there's nothing for the offline tools. For what we like to call traditional frauds and scams, you may remember this person, a guy by the name of Bernie Madoff.
Right.
He was from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but he was one of the most prolific Ponzi schemers ever to exist. $17.5 billion he defrauded out of people. Now, if you look at the list of people that he scammed, it's a who's who. Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, Larry King, Kevin Bacon and his wife, and a host of others. So there's this so-called myth that because I was scammed or I was defrauded of money or some type of asset that I own, I must be dumb, I must be stupid, or I must not pay attention. No. No. What happens is we are at a psychological disadvantage from the beginning. The fraudsters and scammers play on our vulnerabilities. They play on our emotional weaknesses. Those could be things of wanting to attain greater wealth, financial independence. It could be anything from loneliness, needing to find communication for love and romance. It can lead to any number of different vulnerabilities that are out there. It could also lead to the fact that you want to help a lot of people, and you fall into the scam of trying to help a lot of people. So again, it depends upon your vulnerability, but they target you quite well. One of the things that we see happening out there, and again, take a look at it, is the advent of deepfake AI now into the situation. That is very scary. I don't know how many of your fans may be fans of Star Trek Next Generation, but I sort of fell in love with the whole Star Trek genre. And one of the characters, a favorite of mine, was Data, who was the android that wanted to become human. Okay,
Right. Yeah,
or
yeah,
if
I
you want to
remember
go,
that.
or if you want to go back, 2001: A Space Odyssey with Hal.
Yes.
Okay, if we get to right now, we're still in the stage of what we call machine learning, so it's supervised AI. If we get to the point where we have unsupervised AI and fully unsupervised AI, where the AI can then become sentient and can have consciousness, then I get really, really scared. Because I think
Right.
what might happen is AI might look at us as humans and say, you know what? You've had your chance at the planet here and you screwed it up enough. Take a backseat. We're going to take over.
Right.
That's one of my fears.
It's so
Because,
interesting when it comes to that whole premise of how AI is going to come in and step in and take over, because it operates on the belief that humans, as we
mhm,
currently exist today, are a
and,
problem for the ecosystem as opposed to a member of the ecosystem, which is a completely different
correct.
paradigm. What, so,
And
okay. So to kind of bring things around here, Jeff, I'm curious to understand when with cyber AI, like what is your role in all of it as the CEO? What is the thing that you spend most of your time doing?
holding the team together, because we're a startup, we don't have a lot of people. We utilize interns quite a bit. And it's the idea of holding the team together and keeping them focused to accomplish the goals and objectives. One of the projects that we're working on right now is going to be cyber awareness video training to help small businesses. Big business, large enterprise companies have the money and the resources to afford a ticket of 40, 50, or $100,000 for cyber awareness training for their organizations. That puts it at a price point that's outside the range of small and most medium-sized business, or small to medium-sized business. We
Right.
believe that since that is the backbone of the economy, that's where there needs to be some flexibility for the for that business entity to be able to participate and learn. Again, learning is the key. I'm holding up an iPhone. We spend way too much time depending upon the technology to solve our problems instead of using our brains, pointing to my head, thinking that, gee, I have a brain, maybe I should use that too. We let the tools think for us. How many times do you look for tools that say, we protect you, we protect you? Um, yeah, we can protect you, but one of the things that we always have to learn with cybersecurity, it's like a balance sheet. It's a point in time. When I look to help people go forward, whether it's small business, medium business, or other CEOs, they look at me after they have, say, a cybersecurity audit. They'll come back and say, so we're safe now, right? We're safe going forward. No, actually, you're safe for this moment in time. That could change going forward because, as we've seen with things happening in cybersecurity, it's an area that's in constant flux,
Hmm.
constant technology breakthroughs. All the breakthroughs that happen for the good side of business also happen for the bad side of business. And we have to take that into account. Noted what happened just recently with the CrowdStrike issue. If you weren't aware of that, that brought down the biggest tech cyber gaffe, I would say,
Was
that
this
has
what brought
happened.
down all the airlines and everything? This was the most recent thing that was in the news? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was purely a gaffe. Quality assurance was not done. It was not field tested in the Microsoft system, but it was deployed, um, and the ramifications were out there. Now, if you notice what happened when everything went down, there was a ton of websites that went up saying, "We've got the fix for you. It's right here." And guess who that was? Those were the cyber criminals saying, there's a problem. I can exploit it."
Yeah, it's so funny how the that whole economy is built on the back of creating the problem and then solving the problem that they've created. So, okay,
Well, I
I'm curious
don't
then,
want to put
Jeffrey.
anything against CrowdStrike because they are a leading member within the cybersecurity industry. Please don't get me wrong here.
Right.
Um, it was an error that all companies make. It's not just prone to CrowdStrike. There are many companies that have made that same quality assurance mistake. So, and it goes back to human error. When we look at the weakest link in any cybersecurity posture, it's always the human link that is the weakest part of that chain that's out there. So again, what we try to do with Cyber AI Scam Block Plus is give a very straightforward browser extension that helps to not only detect it and help to prevent the fraud and scams, but helps to educate you as to why we call it a fraud or a scam. And that's with our website trust score report that we give out.
I
And
see.
so,
So some of the things that I'm seeing here that are kind of commonly popping up are that you have a keen focus on educating people on this space because it is so convoluted. There are so many different systems and tools and
yeah,
ways to get taken advantage of, and
mhm,
so a lot of your focus to in terms of client acquisition starts at that point of educating them.
education. Correct.
Once you've done a good job educating people, talk
Yeah.
to me about the onboarding. How do you take them from now being interested to turning them into a client that actually pays you money that you can provide services for, and they are now protected?
Well, because we're a startup, we don't have some of the credibility as the big boys that are out there in the same area and space. We
Sure.
offer a 30-day free trial of our product. So you download the product, install it, and look at it, and we provide added support. For example, um, Android, while it's the most prolific of the mobile arenas, is also the one that's most plagued, I think, with holes in applications and areas where you can fall or become entrapped in the opportunity for fraud or scams. For example, if you have a browser extension, let's say you downloaded for Google, okay, Google Chrome, and you put it on your Android device, but you don't put it in Google, you put it in Kiwi, okay, because Kiwi supports browser extensions in Android. Now you go on different applications, maybe like Telegraph or LinkedIn, and you use their onboard browser, or Facebook or Instagram and use their onboard browser. Well, that onboard browser circumvents the browser that's there being used as your normal default browser or the browser you've installed with ScamBlocks Plus. So you're missing out on the fraud and scam detection. See the problem?
Yep.
So again, we try to help educate folks in saying, if you download this and you use these applications, disable the in-app browser so that this way your default browser that you've now changed to Kiwi instead of Android System WebView, which is nothing more than a scaled down version of Google Chrome,
Hmm.
um, to be able to handle that piece. Now, again, with that free trial, you get to see how it works. One of our very first customer was a gentleman by the name of Arif, um, a serial entrepreneur that had several businesses, and he lived here with us in Canada. He has since moved down to the United States. When he downloaded it, within the first 30 days of the trial period, ScamBlocks Plus detected 5 potential frauds and scams that prevented him from going into them. that he would have normally have done without that protection. He
Wow.
estimated that it saved him at least $50,000 to $75,000.
That's remarkable.
To me, that's the type of testament that we like to see and hear from. How it helps and how we can help people, again, reduce their risk to online and offline fraud and scams. We'll protect you by reducing your risk.
It sounds like a really powerful software, and one that even myself I may end up looking into after this call.
Well,
But
it's AI driven. It
right.
is AI driven. So it has AI threat intelligence that's built into that website trust score report. It not only checks dangerous websites, but it also helps you check and confirm phishing and what we now call business email compromise or email account compromise, fake social media profiles, and the like that's happening there. Because everything that we're seeing happening, anytime you touch the web, whether it's from email to social media to the web, to just surfing the web, you have the opportunity to open the door and walk into big trouble. What we have to recognize here is the amount of fraud and scams that's out there. If you look at just Canada, from 2020 to 2023, a 420% increase in reported frauds and scams. That's not my number. That's the number from the CAFC. So from 2020 was 130 million to last year, 554 million with just 10% reporting. That's frightening. In the United States, 2020, 5.1 billion. Last year, an incredible and staggering 10.02 billion. That's a 96% increase over the same period. We should all be sitting in our boots being really, really scared because cybercrime is taking over. If you looked at cybercrime as a nation, and you can go to Statista as a cybersecurity research center to help validate some of this. If cybercrimes was a nation, and the cost of cybercrimes was their GDP, now they would be the most influential economic power on the planet, because it was estimated that last year cybercrimes topped $8 trillion worldwide. That's more than the USA or China. And that's number 1 and 2 in the known world. That frightens. And it's estimated to go to 13.5 plus trillion by 2028.
There's a lot of activity, and there's definitely a demand for the product and service that you have. And I guess that might speak to the efforts that you go through to kind of build the business. I would like to, because what we're trying to aim at here is your customer acquisition process, how you find people, how you serve them. We get it that there's a definite need here, and you got a star quality product. But could you talk to what it looks like beyond the 30-day trial? Once you've got a client and you're serving them, you want to grow the business, you want to keep acquiring clients because this problem isn't going away. So
Correct.
what are some of the goals for the business, Jeff, in terms of how you want to kind of scale up operations and grow things?
Well, we are a startup, so we are just starting to build traction as far as revenue concerned. If I look at where we'd like to grow, we would like to grow with a consistent growth pattern of somewhere between 3 to 5% annually over the next couple of years as we're acquiring customers. Now, again, the problem is the customer acquisition. So we are going to various conferences, Web Summit, Collision, that was just here. Web Summit was in Lisbon last November. And we build up customer contact lists. Our mailing lists are close to 15,000 strong right now. And so when looking to send that out to people that we meet at these conferences in different businesses that we touch base with, that's how we're looking to help to acquire more customers going forward. And then it's, again, word of mouth. If you know again, we go to all of our customers. If you know somebody who's been scammed, tell them about it. Tell them about us. We do have things where we also believe in engagement. Community engagement is the key to helping to turn the tide against this. So long as there's community engagement that's going to drive the discussions, then customer acquisition will follow.
It's having a solid product, I think, lends a lot to that, being able to have
Yep.
a solution that is worth talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
from I get a sense that uh, the community is kind of the foundation of the work that you're doing. And I wonder what sorts of challenges, bottlenecks, or friction is involved in just the sheer number, because like you alluded to, there's a huge problem, and there are a lot of people that are
So
seeking out these solutions. And so how do you what tools and technologies exist inside of your business that allow you to effectively or efficiently get through that? Like you mentioned, you have a email list that's like 15,000 people. That must pose a bit of a challenge in terms of how you interact with those people.
well, we use different mailer programs that help to send out either scheduled emails that will go in sequence, and there are many of them out there. MailerLite is one. There's a bunch of them that are out there. We use MailerLite. We like it. It's very simple and straightforward. That's one tool that we look to use. We post on Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as in Instagram, and I try to write articles that I post into LinkedIn to help educate people and help to promote customer acquisition. It's a lot of, for a startup, yeah, the CEO has to wear many hats. I
Right.
do some IT stuff, I do marketing stuff, I do business development stuff. And I also try to reach out there to help to talk to people to say, when they come to us and say, are you ready for financing? And I work with them and say, I'd like to be, but I want to build up a little bit more revenue traction so I can truly show the investors that want to look at us to say, yeah, we are something worthwhile to look at.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, you get the support and funding to grow, but then you also have people now that you have to be accountable to. There are metrics and
Right.
things like that that you have in place now. I'm curious, Jeff, what do you use to kind of measure your success and help you determine that you're on the right path?
We try to look at the analytics that are available to us for the website, but we also have what I like to call our secret sauce,
Mhm.
and that's Cyber Ollie.
Ooh.
Uh, Cyber Ollie he's actually, his name is Oliver. He is my service dog. Okay. Um, but in his role as Cyber Ollie, he is the guide to helping people traverse the many faceted problems of online and offline frauds and scams. He's the person that you can see in some of the video production that we produce that helps to guide people along and helps to bring them along the way. We got this, oh God, what was the book? Donald Miller, I believe, was Creating a Story Brand, is the name of the
Oh,
book.
yes. Yep, I've read that one. That's a great. I still got it on my bookshelf actually. Love that book.
Okay. And if you think about it, he uses the example of Star Wars in his guide for understanding how to go about in marketing. You have a hero, you have a villain, you have the guide, and you have the victims. In the case of Star Wars, it was Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Yoda as the guides,
Yeah.
and the people of the galaxy were the victims. Well, in our case, as Donald wrote, most startups make the mistake of thinking they're the heroes. We're not. We provide the solutions to the heroes. The heroes are the customers because you as a customer are going to be more believable than me trying to sell you.
Fair. Yep.
If you get our product and you find that it helps you to detect or prevent frauds and scams from coming, you're going to tell your friends and family. So I don't have to. And the word of mouth is really going to be, it's free. Hello, we like that, right?
Yeah.
And it works well because it's convincing, because it comes from a trusted source. And that's the
Right.
most important thing in this world of dealing with cybersecurity is trusted source. Here, let me give you one thing. We look now today, I'm going to throw you a freebie here. Today we have Vision, which is so totally brand new. The idea of the advent of the deepfake AI, defrauding grandmas and grandpas and parents, for children being kidnapped or whatever, being harmed. That's deepfake AI. I'll pretty much say that maybe 90 to 95, maybe even a higher percentages, deepfake AI generated. And they call these individuals late on a night so that they're disoriented. And they play the AI in the background. They use a voice analyzer to change the quality of their voice to be something like this, right?
Yeah.
I got your grandson Bobby, and I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to put him in a third world country, and I'm going to see him again unless he give me $50,000 of Bitcoin by Monday morning,
Yeah.
9 a.m. Right?
Yeah. I've
A
gotten
real,
those.
a real simple. So technology, there's no technology that's going to stop that. It's going to stop that. It's up here. You develop, and this is what we did with our own child 30 some odd years ago. You develop a family password that you don't write down, that is just maintained up in your head. And you, in order to help those who are elderly that may have some type of memory failings, you provide trigger points within their environment that actually don't indicate what the password is, but is a trigger to generate the memory of what it is.
Right.
Now, when that phone call comes and that like that, you can have all the fear, terror, frustration, anxieties in your voice, but you end it with, I swear to God, I'll go to the bank on Monday morning. I'll have the $50,000 in Bitcoin by 9 a.m. I just needed to hear Bobby say their family password. Stops them dead like that. Either they're going to hang up or they might guess at the password.
But that protocol is helpful to keep people safe from
From
the
this happening.
inevitable. Right.
Absolutely. Now, again, what do we know if you want to hide something? Where do you hide it? In plain sight. So that's why I believe the factors to help trigger the memory need to be in plain sight. And you make what we look at when we obfuscate something to help cause confusion and to help bring diffusion into the whole arena of this family password is you make it something that's innocuous, that's every day, but it's something that's unique to that person.
Right.
God, if you think about it, you can come up with so many different instances of what a family password could be. It's virtually impossible for somebody to guess it. Now, mind you, I caution people that if somebody does tell you that's family password, there's a really good chance that maybe your child or grandchild might be kidnapped. And it could be very serious. So you should take it very seriously. So there are drawbacks to every solution. We always have to look at what is the possibility if this is really true.
Well, and to be proactive in your preventative measures, I think is also really important, as you've alluded to earlier on in the conversation. To be ahead of it all is really helpful. And um, so Jeff, I'm
Sometimes
curious
people,
then to find out what's on the horizon, what's coming down the pipeline, what's in store for the future of the business, and what are you looking forward to?
um, we're in the process, as I said, developing a cyber awareness video training course that Cyber Ali is going to be producing and giving. Um, you can look at his videos on his YouTube channel. They're out there. The videos is going to be something that we're going to produce for small businesses to be able to purchase. We also believe for small businesses, they need to have an admin um, portal dashboard to help them be able to manage the deployment of scam blocks plus within their business so they can see how it's working, because so much more of small businesses becoming remote business, right? So
Right.
with remote business that you have there, you need to be able to ensure that you're protecting not only yourself, but your company's assets, whether they're computers or other things that your employees use. And so in this way, you can see with that dashboard how your whole organization is being held together by ScanBlocks Plus. You'll be able to get the reports and analytics that are generated out of there going forward. Now that's in the small business. I also have a dream of going forward for large business. And that one is something we're looking to actually start developing in the very near future. And that's to deal with the problem of privileged access credential abuse in large businesses. That's a $3 trillion problem, according to the ACEF, the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. I'm sorry, ACFE.
That's a big number.
Yeah, that is. But that's a global number. But $3 trillion, that's huge. And really, the problem of privileged access credential abuses means that the compromise is happening from within your organization. Let me give you this scenario. You're working in cybersecurity. You're part of a SOC, Security Operations Center. You've been there for 10 or 12 years. You've been working hard at your job and everything, but you're pigeonholed in the job. You can't get out of there. There are younger people that are just walking past you because they do the walk and the talk better than you do. You become angry. You're now disgusted with your work. A friend of you calls you up on a Friday night and says, you know what? I developed this really little cool piece of malware. All you got to do is open up port 443 there on the firewall and let me in late on the night and I'll deposit and we'll clean house. Friday night comes, 2:40 a.m., opens up port 443. Cyber criminal comes in, plants the malware, he goes out, and the system admin erases the trace that's there in the event logs. Real life story happens all the time. Our piece in that is helping to find a way around that with our AI solutions. And we believe we have one. And I'm not going to give away the secrets or go into much more detail because we're in the process of programming it. But that's the problem we're looking to solve for big business.
It's a big problem, and it sounds like you are right on track for creating just the right solution to fix that problem. And I know that being involved in any chain of security are usually the weakest link, and it's not even necessarily, it doesn't even have to be a nefarious thing. It can simply
Mm-hmm.
just be somebody who clicked on a thing that they shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have clicked on, and that is
Mm-hmm.
just as dangerous for your business as any other security threat, including the holdup, right? Somebody showing up
Of
with a
course.
gun and pointing it at the CEO's face.
Well,
It's all the same at the end of the day. They all have very similar risks.
that's right. And again, the issue that we look at, I'm not going to tell you we'll protect you because when I tell you protect you, you assume that's 100% protection.
Right.
I reduce your risk. If your risk of this event is happening is 70%, if I can reduce that risk to 30%, is that good? If I can reduce it to 20, is that good? Where do you look at it and say it's an acceptable risk? Because when we look at risk, there are 4 states of risk. There is acceptance, avoidance, mitigation, and transfer.
Mm.
So, but anytime you mitigate or reduce the risk, you're left with what we call residual risk. That's that risk that's left over. You can never reduce the risk to zero. You want to come as close to it as you can, but we can't get to zero. It's impossible. There's always going to be some risk that's going to be out there. So again, if we look at some of the things that are out there for privileged access credential abuse, you look at the Verizon database data breach incident report that comes out annually. Some of those numbers are simply frightening. And I think that's why some people do a lot of jumping in cybersecurity.
Well, that's why we need people like you, Jeff.
Um,
On that note, just to kind of wrap things up here, you've been very generous with your time and your wisdom, and for that, on behalf of myself and the viewers, I'm very grateful for the insights that you've shared.
yep.
For the last question that I have for you here, Jeff, we're going to go a little bit off track, if there was somebody who is in a similar role as you, in a similar position, looking to achieve success and grow their business, what's one piece of advice you could offer that person to help them along their way?
Carefully, you develop the friendships with, and make sure they have a good grounding in business if you're looking to take them in as partners and co-founders. It's one thing to bring on a friend or a loved one because they're, you know, they want to become involved. It's another thing to bring them on and they're dead weight. That's what you, in business, especially at the startup, you can't bring on dead weight. You have to bring on people that are ready to run at the start of running, at the start of the race. You got to be able to hit the ground running and not be afraid of falling. One of the things that I believe is most serious, we look at it, everybody wants to talk about success. If you constantly succeed in life, you really don't learn. We only learn from failure because it's the yang to the success of yin, to yin of success, right? There has to be a balance.
Right.
If you've constantly succeeded in life, how do you know you succeeded if you've never failed? I remember looking at interns when I was doing, and I do this now with interns. I look at them and one of the questions that I ask them is, tell me something somewhere in your life of where you failed and the lesson you learned from it. And a lot of times I hear from a lot of young, well, I've never failed. Did you read my resume? I'm sorry, you were born knowing how to tie your shoes? Or you
Right.
knew how to actually attach the Velcro? Yep, somebody had to show you, you had to learn. And so we constantly learn every day. Take every piece of information that you can and look at it to help your success in business and for yourself. I guess one of my favorite books that I just started reading now is The Fifth Domain by Dick Clark. He happens to be, I believe, the U.S. cybersecurity czar that is out there now.
Right.
Very good book and well-meaning and helps to show the public-private partnership between government and business, because that's what has to happen. There has to be a partnership between government and business in order to go forward, in order to fight this problem. We can't do it on our own. Government cannot do it on its own. It has to be a cooperative partnership.
Yeah, that's sound advice and insight into the direction that we're all kind of heading in that there are dangers on the horizon that we need to be present to, and we need all hands on deck to make sure that we protect ourselves and the people we care about. And
Mhm.
that's very powerful, Jeff. Thank you for sharing that. If somebody wanted to reach out to you to pick your brain further or work with you, how would one go about doing that?
Email is Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at Cyber AI, CYBERAI.pro. I do respond to all my emails. I respond to them personally. I do not have an admin that works for me that responds for me.
Yet, that is, of course.
Oh,
Excellent,
actually, I
Jeff.
think I believe you have to give a personal touch, because
Yeah.
that's what makes a difference. When people feel and know you care, then they have more faith, trust, and have more credibility in what you say. And so that's the important thing that I believe we can take going forward. As I said in my email to you, I see things different.
Mhm.
And it's because I view them differently that my perspective is slightly different, but comes to the same goal.
Right. Yeah. Very, very, very powerful, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very grateful for everything that you've shared. We'll make sure to link to all of your stuff in the show notes so that people can get a hold of you if they want to. And
Sure.
on that note, if anybody wants to get in touch with me and my team for any reason, you can visit nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode, and I will see you in the next.